esteemed colleagues, partners in this educational venture, Dr. Timothy Howard, parents, students, and friends of TASIS Dorado. Tonight, we are gathered to honor and to remember, to celebrate, above all, the life of our first head of school, Raphael Christiansen Santaella. In the past, I have called him a dreamer, because he would look at a space, at a block of time, at a problem, and he would see what many of us could not. He had that unique ability to transform the ordinary into something special. All of us who are going to speak tonight or perform will address a different facet of this immensely talented educator and wonderfully sensitive human being. To begin our evening, we have asked Celia Miranda to interpret one of Luis's favorite songs, Gracias a la Vida, de Violeta Parra.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado y en las multitudes al hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y días, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, chubascos y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido del abecedario con las palabras que pienso y declaro, madre, amigo, hermano y luz alumbrando la ruta del alma del que estoy amando. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve ciudades y charcas, playas y desiertos, montañas y llanos, y la casa tuya, tu calle, tu patio. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón que agita su marco
I remember walking into Louis's office when he moved to the second floor next to the business office, and music, more specifically a beautiful Italian tenor, was heard over his speakers. He spoke, but he didn't turn off the music. Not that it was loud, but after a few minutes, and a bit surprised, I said, "Louis, what's with the music?" And he looked at me as if I were someone from outer space. Said, "You don't know then that Luciano Pavarotti died last night. As I work today, I plan to listen to his music as a tribute. For this reason, I know that he'll enjoy the concert band's rendition of Colors of the Wind by Judy Kuhn." combination of educators that gave birth to TASIS Dorado had a very clearly defined vision of the student we sought to develop. Through the lessons and activities our teachers provide on a daily basis, we educate well-rounded students who will always want to continue learning to improve themselves and others. Puerto Rico and the world will only be better than it is today through education. We need, Lewis would say, more and better entrepreneurs, happier, better rounded individuals, courageous men and women who will understand their mission in life as TASIS Dorado students is to make the world in which they live better, safer, cleaner, and more peaceful. Our students should be instrumental in creating a world where persons of science, of music, of medicine, of the arts, of education would not only see the real problems facing our world, but will take it upon themselves to help solve them. Lewis believed that only through the craft of wonderful teachers can we build a better tomorrow, which will positively impact society and even touch eternity. Let's hear from some of our administrators and teachers that Lewis affected and because of them became better educators. Ms. Susan Fiallo, Mr. Jaime Ramirez, Tere Mendoza, Viviana Dagón, y Lourdes Rosa will address.
Scholars, lend me your ears. That was how Mr. C began almost all of his meetings or talks with students or faculty, reminding all of us who we are and the importance of our journey together as educators and learners in this very special school. I was blessed to work for and learn from Louis Christiansen for 10 years, and then was honored to count on his friendship, advice, and life lessons for 5 more. He hired me for a position that, as an educator, was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work with him and his team to start our secondary school. He was a wise and generous mentor. He was not a micromanager, and yet he was always available and always knew what was going on. He let us work freely, which inspires those with passion to work even harder. Together I worked with Mr. C, Maritere, Garrison, Lucia, and many other passionate educators in creating our high school. It's been nothing less than the greatest adventure of my career. Great people to work with, lots of long hours, but we had so much fun. And I learned so much in the process. One of the biggest lessons Louis taught me was about learning through the process and not rushing just to finish something to get it done. Sounds like an easy lesson, which we teach students or try to teach students all the time. Enjoy, learn from the journey, slow down, listen. Mr. C was so good at that. Never been easy for me. That lesson was no better exemplified than in our work together on the accreditation of our school, which we did together many times over the years we worked together. The importance of being accredited as a school is obvious and necessary, but the process is time-consuming and often challenging. Mr. C was a Middle States Board Commissioner, and I'm convinced that he really loved and valued the process. It requires reflection, creating a vision of where we want to be, setting goals, making plans, collecting data and more data, lots of documentation, everything the academic in him loved to study and work on. Me, to be honest, not so much. I'm more the dreamer, the project starter, the motivate the team kind of person. But with his guidance and steady encouragement, I too learned to appreciate the value in the process. Take the time to enjoy and learn from the journey, how it contributes to the growth of our school. Mr. C taught me well. The lessons were about focus, about planning ahead, about taking time to do things well. And we shared many great conversations along the way. To lose Mr. C at this moment is for me particularly difficult. Next week, we welcome another visiting accreditation team. So I'm calling on those lessons, channeling that sense of purpose in the journey, not forgetting his incredible organizational skills, his attention to detail, his reminding me of our mission and why this is so important for our school, and why we will always work so hard to be the best we can be. We have passed each visit with flying colors, always striving for excellence, and we won't accept less. Still, I hope that somewhere he'll put in a good word for us. It can't hurt. Thank you, Louis, for you definitely showed us how to enjoy and learn from the journey, and your legacy lives on in all of us. Thank you.
and good evening to you all. I am honored and very grateful for the invitation to share the podium in this solemn occasion. The passing of Mr. C has taken us by surprise. It was untimely. We're sad and in mourning. But it occurs to me that we need to turn our grief into positive actions. We should follow Mr. C's example. Let me share a short anecdote which can help start this quest. I'm pretty sure that it was my first December in school. We were all in festive mood. It was Christmas time. I was walking towards the cafeteria on this southeast hallway. He was coming from his office down to the cafeteria also. About 1 o'clock, lunchtime rush had ended. Suddenly, I see him stop. He bent down with some difficulty, picked up an empty cup from the floor, took a couple of more steps, bent down again, with his eyes always on the floor, picked up some discarded wrappings, and repeated the action 2 or 3 times. You could tell it was not easy for him. As we met, his hands were full of cups and papers and wrappings, and we were at the point where he had to turn into the cafeteria. We smiled at each other, and he said, "Profesor, saludo. No le doy la mano porque no la tengo limpia. ¿Cómo está?" We say hello to each other. Same time, he placed his cargo in the trash can, and then he continued into the cafeteria. I was kind of perplexed. Pretty sure that most of the persons in his position might pick up once, but then they will call the maintenance crew, right? To do their job. Not me. And I'm never going to forget that lesson. Louis Christiansen was humble, elegant, wise, but above all, he was committed to his role as an educator. And he showed it by modeling, by enacting the behavior that was proper. I know that in our TASIS community, there are many who follow Mr. C's example. Many who are committed to bending their knees even when it is uncomfortable, because it is the right thing to do, because we're convinced that we are examples to the younger generations, because we are educators. But we need everybody to follow his example. Not just some, not just many, not just most of all. Every one of us needs to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it is about solid material waste or the environment. But most of the time it is not. Most of the time it's about proper behavior, tolerance, inclusiveness, respect, and about caring for the well-being of others, not only our well-being. Let us take time to bend our knees, even when it hurts or it makes us uncomfortable. And let's pick up what is not supposed to be there. I will finish with a citation from a playwright, Bertolt Brecht, that I feel portrays Louis Christiansen's legacy. Bertolt Brecht said, "There are men who struggle for a day, and they are good. There are men who struggle for a year, and they are better. There are men who struggle many years, and they are even better. But there are those who struggle all their lives. These are the indispensable ones." Today, in order to perpetuate Mr. C's memory, I propose we follow Louis Christiansen's example. Let us struggle every day of our lives. Let us be indispensable. Thank you very much.
Difícil de hablar después de esas hermosas palabras. pero voy a poner mi aportación. Primero que nada, agradezco muchísimo a la administración de TASIS Dorado por haberme invitado a ser parte de esta hermosa ceremonia, donde celebramos la vida de Mr. C. Hace 16 años llegué a TASIS Dorado con muchas ilusiones de continuar mi desarrollo profesional como profesora de ciencias. Varias cosas pudiera compartir con ustedes sobre mis experiencias con Mr. C, pero voy a comentar con ustedes una de las memorias favoritas que conservo en mi ser. Mr. C siempre asistía, bien entusiasmado con su cámara fotográfica, a todos los embelecos de ciencias que yo hacía para los primeros años de esta escuela. Por ejemplo, el primer Science Family Fun Night, que fue para el año 2006. Recuerdo que yo le comenté esa noche sobre mis temores de hablar en público, y sobre todo porque me iba a dirigir por primera vez a una audiencia grande en inglés. Mr. C me dijo: Tere, tranquila, lo soñaste, ¿verdad? Y yo le dije sí, y con mucha ilusión. Luego me dijo: lo trabajaste, ¿verdad? Y yo le dije sí, con mucha pasión. Entonces él me respondió: Tere, tranquila, este es tu bebé, disfruta el momento, no permitas que nada pase, que todo pase y tú no lo disfrutes. Todo va a salir bien, confía, recuerda, confía. Me lo dijo como 3 veces. Así fue. Esa noche fue un rotundo éxito para los padres y estudiantes, donde compartieron en un escenario completamente diferente al salón de clases. Fueron las palabras necesarias en el momento preciso. Así era Mr. C. Siempre reconoció mi lengua materna como el lenguaje de mi alma. Lo apoyó, me respetó incondicionalmente y apoyó todas las actividades que hacíamos los maestros, que fueron la base para crear lo que TASIS Dorado hoy es, la gran escuela. Quiero dejarles como un mensaje que me recuerda mucho a él. A lot of people have gone further than they thought they could, because someone else thought they could. Gracias, Mr. C. Seguiremos luchando por ser los mejores maestros cada día. Buenas noches.
When they asked me to write something for Mr. C, it came out as a letter to him. So here it goes. Dear Mr. C, when I think of you or someone mentions your name, the first thing that comes to mind is your big smile. Every time we met, I asked, ¿Cómo está Mr. C? And he would always reply, Yo bien, pero ¿cómo estás tú, mi niña? Yeah. Make it seems like the only thing that mattered at that moment was me and nothing else. You had that gift of being a great listener and to make people feel cared for, welcome, and important. I visited your office many times. No, I wasn't always in trouble. Sometimes, but not that many, I hope. Your office was a listening space, a round table of conversations about life, education, architecture, music, photography, budgets, arts, mathematics, and countless other subjects that needed a space to be explored. And that was your space. That was you. I remember the countless times I saw you walk in the halls and the classrooms with your camera, taking pictures of the beauty around us. This campus is your vision of beauty, a place of endless rinconcitos that yell out your name. I am very grateful to have had you as my teacher when I did my master's in administration and supervision of schools. The way you showed me how to do the budget in such detail, and it seemed so easy. I still do it that way up today. I am grateful for the opportunities given and the trust. You see, when you decided to give someone the opportunity to do something, you trusted that person fully and gave us a space to do our thing. Yes, at times we needed guidance, and you were right there to provide it for us. But for the most part, you would say, "Tú sabes lo que tienes que hacer, mi niña, solo hazlo." He had a great sense of humor, kind of like on the dark side with a little sarcasm here and there, kind of like me. So I loved it when new people came into the meetings and you made a comment or a joke and they didn't know whether you were serious or not, so their faces were kind of priceless. I loved your fairness and the way that you listened to everything that everyone had to say and then take off your glasses. They were kind of like click on like that. And then you gave your opinion, which made everyone feel like they came out a winner. I am grateful for the conversations, for the lessons taught by example, for the advice, for the smiles, for all the opportunities, for your vision and your endurance of excellence. I am grateful for you and for the lasting footprints you left in me. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Viviana. Soy Lourdes Rosa, profesora de arte de esta institución por los pasados 17 años. En realidad pudiera escribir un librito de pequeñas historias. Voy a contarle un poquito cómo Luis marcó mi vida como mentor y como amigo. Él me enseñó a valorar la lealtad. Aprendí a educar modelando ejemplos, a lograr éxito en el anonimato, a cuidar, proteger y reforzar el aprendizaje de nuestros estudiantes como el tesoro más preciado. La importancia de escuchar, entender y poder guiar a dar forma a los pensamientos creativos de nuestros alumnos. Me motivó a crear y pensar y presentar lo inesperado, bautizándome con el cariñoso apodo de Madame en Belé. Para mí Mr. C fue, es y será mi norte, mi inspiración y el mejor ejemplo a seguir en la educación. Qué privilegio de haberlo tenido tan cerca. Ahora, de parte del grupo de VAPA, de profesores del Departamento de Música, Arte, Drama, escribimos lo siguiente. Dear Mr. C, thank you for all your support, inspiration, and mentoring for so many years. We feel grateful, honored, and proud to have been part of your dream and your teachings. We promise to continue challenging and motivating our students to help them grow and genuinely excel in an exciting learning environment. The impact you made in our visual and performing arts program won't be forgotten. You nourished, supported, and defended the arts not only with words, but through so many actions. We pay homage to you, to your life, to your leadership. You were, are, and forever will be our great patron of the arts here at TASIS Dorado. We devote ourselves to continue your legacy and to make sure every student searches for their own creativity, curiosity, and talent. Thank you, the VAPA team, and Lourdes Rosa. I'm going to read a message of a teacher that said yesterday she wasn't going to write anything, and it's so beautiful, I want to share it. Para mí, él era presencia genuina. Así lo demostraba en su caminar lento, su contemplación de las orquídeas, su deleite en la música y su pasión por capturar el momento en una foto. Todo lo hacía con conciencia y disfrute, sabiendo que la belleza se admiraba con tiempo, no con prisa, que la presencia envolvía a escuchar con atención para poder responder, no reaccionar. Él sabía navegar una turbulencia con temple, aplomo y con respeto a todos que nos dirigía. En él yo confiaba y siempre sabía que con honestidad y sabiduría nos defendería. Hoy lo recordaremos como Papá Oso. Para mí siempre fue un sabio, un mago y un hechicero, quien nos embrujó para que siempre buscáramos alcanzar nuestra excelencia. Mariela Reyes. Louis began every formal activity with readings from the scriptures. He was a very private person, deeply spiritual, who instilled in the TASIS Dorado community the profound respect for all religions. He always selected passages that would bring us together and in careful definition of what a non-denominational school is. The passage Dr. Howard, our headmaster, will read to us tonight was a favorite of Louis. He incorporated it in the script of our 8th grade graduation, and we continue to use his script to celebrate the event. Will you, Dr. Howard?
Good evening. Last week at an event with our entire student body gathered around the Founders Courtyard, I spoke to them briefly and told them that when we look at our lives, especially in the building of anything very important, we find that we are always standing on the shoulders of giants. And I certainly feel that way. In the past 5 years, I've been grateful for Louis's wise counsel, his steady support of me as a person and as his successor, which are very big shoes to fill, and his friendship. May he rest in peace. A reading from the book of Sirach, chapter 6, beginning with verse 18. My son and daughter, from your youth, welcome education. And until your hair is white, you will continue to discover wisdom. Cultivate your understanding like one who plows and one who sows, and wait for education's fine harvest. For in cultivating instruction, you will toil a little while, but very soon you will be eating her crops. Listen, my child, and welcome my opinion. Do not reject my advice. Put your feet into instruction's shackles, and your neck into her harness. Bend your shoulder down to her yoke. Do not be restive in her reins. Court your education with all your soul, and with all your might keep her ways. Go after wisdom and seek her. She will reveal herself to you. Once you hold her, do not let her go. For in the end you will find rest in your understanding, and she will take the form of joy in you. Her restraints, you will find, are a strong defense. Her harness, a robe of honor. Her yoke will be a golden ornament. Her reins, purple ribbons. You will wear wisdom like a robe of honor. If you wish, my son and daughter, you can acquire an education. If you give your mind to it, subtlety will be yours. If you love to listen, you will learn. If you lend an ear, wisdom will be yours. If you meet a man or woman of understanding, visit them early. Let your feet wear out their doorstep. Learn from them. Also reflect on the instructions of the Lord. Meditate constantly on his commandments. He will strengthen your mind, and the wisdom you desire will be granted you.
He found somewhat lacking in his education. Don't get me wrong, he would say. The belief in the dignity of each human being, my work ethic, my attention to details, my love for learning, my passion for reading, my enjoyment of poetry, these are all things I learned at home and were reinforced in my school. Louis had a keen analytical mind, and a creative, out-of-the-box solutions were his specialty. However, for TASIS Dorado, Louis wanted to touch our students' hearts and impact their souls. No way better to accomplish this in children than by developing the arts, his beloved visual and performing arts program. We need to get the students really young before their taste in music and art becomes distorted. Let's expose them to the classics. Let's have them create music as soon as possible. He would always enjoy our students' musical and dramatic interpretations. So before you, the TASIS Dorado Elementary Choir singing one of his favorite songs, Verde Luz by Antonio Cabambare. wanted us to educate individuals who would see wrong and right it. Our kids should act to help those in pain, feed those who are hungry. He encouraged our students to tutor. When you help others understand what you see so clearly, you are making a better world. And by the way, you're learning. Therefore, he was proud of those who taught French en mi escuela amiga, those who created a basketball clinic for public school students who had never experienced an after-school program, those who actively raised funds to invest in our society's less fortunate, those who sat with their peers or younger students and helped them raise their grades. Always humble, he would say, you never know why you understand something so clearly and the child doesn't. But you will find in life that there are going to be so many people so much brighter than you. He saw a kinder, a more gentle world, where bystanders, instead of seeing the wrong, actually turned into upstanders and corrected it. He saw students needing to give voice to those who did not speak for themselves. It is my honor to introduce excellent students representing the student body. Excellent in their academics, in their co-curricular activities, and in everything they produce. I call for you, Jerian Mendez, Enrique Valiente, Mariana Gonzalez, and Eva Soler.
Hello, friends, parents, faculty. I met Mr. C back in my youth when I first arrived at the school in 2005, where he would frequent the classrooms and read to me in my class. Even here, I could recognize what a profound person he was. Even with the busy work schedule of a headmaster, almost every day, he would take time to say hello to the students and establish connections. Throughout the years, I would always see him around the halls, always checking in on everyone and making sure they were doing okay. I remember hearing his jovial laugh echo across the halls, which always put a smile on my face. Looking back, it'll feel so strange that a man so present in the school will be gone. But the best we can do to carry on his dream is do what he always told us to do: strive for excellence. Thank you.
Good evening. Many members of the class of 2020, myself included, have had the pleasure of being in TASIS since pre-K. This is to say that we had the pleasure of knowing and learning from Mr. C. I do not have many memories from my elementary school years, but Mr. C is a part of the majority of them. From seeing him caring for the many orchids that surround our school, to seeing him with his camera silently taking snapshots of our activities, his presence was inspiring. My most prominent memory of Mr. C as headmaster of TASIS would have to be his goodbye party. His happiness after the whole school waited for him in the courts to surprise him was unforgettable. His smile that day is forever ingrained in our brains, and that is how we choose to remember our first headmaster, the one who not only helped us become the students that we are, but the one that gave us the place that formed the young adults that we are, and the kind men and women that we will become. Thank you for everything, Mr. C. Your spirit will always be amongst us. Forever bear pride.
How to say goodbye to someone as special as Mr. C. As I look back at all of my memories of him, I think, what a better way to honor him through his name, or what we all called him, Mr. C. Mr. C was always committed. He was always there at all of our activities, making sure that every minute was appreciated through the lens of his camera, documenting these events and making them part of TASIS Dorado's history. Mr. C was always creative. His love for the arts would constantly show us the importance of having a complex yet captivating curriculum and showing us support in our artistic development as students. Mr. C was always compassionate. Every time anyone had a particular situation that was difficult, he would comfort us and was present in helping us, along with the school, overcome our challenges. Mr. C está en el cielo, which is Spanish for Mr. C is now in heaven. Heaven receives with open arms someone who made a difference in our school and who will continue to do so from above. Today, I say goodbye along with the rest of the school to the person who taught me how to be committed, creative, and compassionate, and who developed in me the values that will make me excel in the future. May he rest in peace.
Good evening. Mr. C was an educator, a visionary, and a founder of horizons for many of us. I remember him attending my after-school piano recitals in the chapel. He would sit through all of the kids' songs and clap hard for all of them, even for those playing the simplest of melodies. The simple detail of attending these recitals reflects how he has a true passion for the arts. Mr. C envisioned the implementation of a strong and diverse arts program in our school, and he made it possible. His footprint and his legacy have been deeply marked within the walls of TASIS, that is through theater, art, and music. The memories of the days that we shared with Mr. C are a clear reflection of what he built for our school. Today, the seniors band will play Preciosa by Mark Anthony and composed by Raphael to celebrate his life and to share with you the legacy he has left us through music. This is for you.
Yo sé lo que son los encantos de mi borinquen hermosa, por eso la quiero yo tanto, por siempre la llamaré preciosa.
I want you to know, we have our best engineers, we have our mathematicians, we have our statesperson, polished UN competitors, and what I celebrate is how well-rounded they are. At this time, I'm going to invite Federico Estuve Gonzalez, Vice Presidente of the Board of Directors, to the stage.
Good evening. Fernando Gonzalez couldn't be here with us tonight, so he sent me a message of an eulogy for Louis Christiansen, which he asked me to please read on his behalf. In celebration of Louis Christiansen's life, although I'm not able to physically join you to help celebrate the life of our dear friend and colleague, Louis Christiansen, I am with you in spirit and appreciate Fede for sharing my thoughts with you to honor him today. My first memory of Louis was on a school bus to and from San Ignacio when he was the last aboard on the way to school and the first to be dropped off on the way home. He always stood at the front of the entrance door of the bus all the way to school and back with his heavy square black book bag, which made him appear regal and superior. He was always immaculately dressed, even in the school uniform, with not a hair out of place. This fastidiousness and attention to detail were attributes I would learn to appreciate in later years when we roomed together at Harvard and became good friends as we both pursued careers in education. And even more so in 2001 when I asked him to join Frido Stube and I in a partnership along with my sister Maritere to start TASIS Dorado as the school's founding headmaster. At first, Louis was cautious, and after many years away from education in the family business, he had his doubts, saying he would only commit to 3 to 5 years because he was tired of dealing with difficult school boards, parents, and teachers. He told me he was ready for retirement even though he was just over 50, which was far too young, I pointed out. His visit to TASIS England to see firsthand what a TASIS school was like and to meet our founder, Mrs. Fleming, was the deciding factor, and I knew then, given his passion for education, that this was an opportunity he could not pass up. We were to become a dream team which would launch the school to immediate success under Louis' strong leadership. In the end, he dedicated 15 years of his life to helping create this very special school. And perhaps more than anyone, his imprint on TASIS Dorado is one that will be celebrated and recognized for generations to come. Louis was always well prepared and disciplined in his decision making, usually making an irrefutable and compelling case for his position. There was rarely an argument because Louis solicited opinions and advice from his team, but always with a firm grasp of the issues and a clear understanding of what decision was the right one for the school. Everyone knew who was in charge. That is the real definition of an effective leader. Although at times he could appear to be intimidating because of his broad experience, bright mind, and strong convictions, he also had a soft heart and exuded kindness. He was a true gentleman who always respected and was considerate of others, which in turn engendered love and admiration from all who knew him as Mr. C. He also believed in excellence, both personal and professional, and in fact came up with the school motto, striving for excellence within a culture of kindness, which he embodied. He reflected impeccable values of character and civility, and above all, he had a passion for nature and the arts. I have fond memories of the 2 summers he came to the art teacher workshop at Les Tapis in the south of France, where he impressed everyone with his depth of knowledge of the French Impressionists and his excellent photography skills. In many ways, Louis was a Renaissance man, a true scholar, always keen to increase his knowledge in a broad range of topics, widely traveled and extremely well educated in the liberal arts, and a humanist who also had a deep understanding and appreciation for fiscal management. I feel privileged and blessed to have shared a long friendship and worked closely with him as colleagues to make the TASIS Dorado dream come true. For those of you who were fortunate enough to have been touched by Louis' generosity of spirit and influenced by his zest for life, whether it was over an excellent meal with several glasses of scotch, or simply enjoying a quiet conversation over any range of topics, Louis brought a touch of class to everything he did. And yet, he was also a modest and introspective man who would have been embarrassed by the accolades we are showering him with today. His natural tendency would be to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of others rather than shine the light on his own considerable achievements. We will miss this passion for life, and yet at the same time, it was contagious for those of us who knew him well. He leaves us a rich legacy upon which we can build a brighter future for TASIS Dorado and his dearly loved Puerto Rico. We know he has done his work well because we feel enriched for having known him. I wish him the eternal rest and peace he now enjoys and so deeply deserves. Fernando Gonzalez, President of the TASIS Dorado Board, March 3, 2020. May he rest in peace.
There are two other qualities that left a positive impact, creating the camaraderie and perhaps more typical of a family than a school. For Luis, listening attentively, which I think you've heard before in many messages, for him it was fundamental. Whenever parents, colleagues, or students met with him, they knew they had his undivided attention. After hearing one carefully, he would address the event or the events, separating emotion from the issue to decide always in agreement with our mission, with the child in the center. Along with this careful listening was Luis's attention to bringing us all together as one school. For him, the employee working with the garden, tending to the koi, upkeeping our facilities, and providing support to the teachers, they were all important to the school, and their help much needed in our sacred task of education. No one better than Luis Cruz y Javi Martinez to speak about that side of Luis.
Cuando me dijeron que tenía que hablar de Luis en 2 minutos, yo dije, wow, conozco a Luis por 27 años, ¿cómo va a ser eso? Así que voy a hacer lo mejor que pueda. Conocí a Luis en el 1993, era mi jefe en una compañía privada y en 1998 la compañía cerró porque se vendió a Coca-Cola. Y Luis lo que me dijo fue, no te preocupes, Luis, si te tengo que pagar yo, lo voy a hacer. Y en ese momento yo tenía 3 hijos pequeños, así que sentí su apoyo en ese momento. Ese era Luis, era una persona dada, se preocupaba por los demás. Y eso lo viví yo en experiencia propia. Fue mi mentor, fue una persona que me enseñó mucho acerca de cómo trabajar en escuelas. Es muy diferente trabajar en una escuela que trabajar en una empresa privada, pero él me ayudó a superar todos esos retos. Agradezco todo su consejo y todo ese tiempo que dedicó, sus puertas abiertas cuando cada vez que tenía una duda, me ayudaba a resolucionar los problemas. Le doy las gracias. Una cosa curiosa que voy a siempre recordar de él es que se servía una taza bien grande de café todas las mañanas. Coincidíamos allí en la cocina de la cafetería, de la oficina, y se la servía completa hasta arriba de café negro, con 2 sorbetitos todos los días, y con eso consumía su café todos los días, y por la tarde también. Momentos agradables con él, no puedo decir, son muchísimos. Agradezco haber conocido a Luis y le doy las gracias que estuvo en parte de mi vida. Gracias.
Buenas noches, Javi Martínez, el señor Christiansen, como dice Luis Cruz. Llegué también hace 27 años a conocerlo, trabajé con ellos también en Santaella junto a su familia. Luis para mí fue más que un jefe, fue un amigo y también le tuve un respeto y lo sigo teniendo como un padre. Y le doy gracias por todo que me enseñó y la oportunidad que me dio para estar aquí en TASIS. Y como la anécdota que nunca se me olvida cuando me entrevistó, fueron las palabras que me dijo: Javi, estoy loco, voy a hacer una escuela con 74 estudiantes. vamos para adelante. Y nunca se me va a olvidar. Así que buenas noches y gracias.
Because I can't see Carla, there's Carla. Okay. Because Louis so enjoyed hearing Carla Santana play the piano, she will perform the Valse Opus 64 No. 2 by Frédéric Chopin. I know he enjoyed it. Thank you very much. It's about mediocrity. To strive for excellence was his motto. He wanted to impact everyone and wanted everyone to be the best version of him or herself. Once, a middle school student shared with me that she wanted to be a lawyer. This was a new student who was learning English, and she was getting up to par with our math program. So I proudly turned around and shared with Louis. Far from insecure, this student knew her potential, and Louis found her goals commendable. But what she remembers is that he said, "Remember that every person has an important role in life, and every job is crucially important in creating the complicated fabric of society." He said, "Focus on more than just being a professional," and I chuckled, "but be sure that you're productive, that you're just, that you're responsible, creative, and moral." Now tonight, this is the moment to hear from some of our other alumni that have sent a video. I'm proud to welcome Roberto Gorbea, graduated from our first class, and you will hear some very spectacular guitar from him. So studying physics, right? Like a combination of physics and music.
Mr. C, I know that you're listening to all of us from up above, and I just want you to know that your level of excellence and dedication towards the success of our community is something that truly changed all of our lives, and this will never be forgotten. You epitomized what it means to be a true bear, but even more so what it means to be a great leader and a role model. Thank you for making TASIS my second home. Your legacy will forever live on.
From the class of 2012,
We extend our deepest sympathies to Mr. Christiansen's family and TASIS Dorado family.
We will forever be grateful for the impact and influence on our academic path.
Mr. C, thank you for inspiring us. We love you. We will always miss you. Descansa en paz from the class of 2012.
Thank you, Mr. C, for everything you have done. Your efforts will never be forgotten, and you have left a mark in each and every one of us who got the chance to meet you.
Gracias, Mr. C, por todo lo que hiciste por TASIS. Yo sé que verdaderamente sin tus contribuciones hacia esa institución, yo verdaderamente no hubiese llegado a donde estoy ahora mismo.
Mr. C was a dedicated and admired educator whose inspirational work has positively impacted the end, forging an impressive and long-lasting legacy. His passing is a great loss to the community, which is why I would like to extend my condolences to his family, his friends, and his loved ones, as well as the entire TASIS Dorado family. May he rest in peace.
Buenos días, le quiero dar las gracias a ti por la oportunidad que me dio y por creer en mí. Y just want to say, rest easy.
Dear Mr. C, thank you for always, always, always believing in my talent.
Thank you, Mr. C, for everything you did for a beautiful school. You will always be remembered as our Papa Bear. May you rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. C, for inspiring us all. Que descanse en paz.
Gracias por todo, Mr. C. Que descanse en paz.
Thank you, Mr. C, for inspiring us to strive for excellence and kindness.
Hello, my name is Monica Vanillas and I'm from the class of 2018. My message to Mr. C is that 5 years had passed since his departure from TASIS, but his legacy of grit and determination will remain on campus forever.
Thank you, Mr. C, for motivating us to strive for excellence and showing us that the TASIS Dorado community is much more than an excellent educational institution, but a place we can call our home. This is a very wonderful place to learn and grow, and it's been a privilege to be part of this school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C, for your hard work, your effort, and your love in shaping the future of TASIS Dorado and Puerto Rico.
Played a major role in shaping my education throughout my entire time at TASIS Dorado, and I am incredibly thankful for that. Thank you for always pushing us to strive for excellence, Mr. C.
Mr. C was undoubtedly
one of the most influential people in my development towards the man I am today. He was a magnanimous role model for many of us, and a gentleman in the truest sense of the word. His legacy is just that, the thousands of hopeful and determined minds he shaped into kind, yet strong citizens of this earth. You will remain within each of us forever. Thank you, Mr. C, for leading by example, for teaching me how to be courageous, respectful, ambitious, and loving. You will forever have a very special place in my heart.
Mr. Shi's passing has been felt by all the TASIS community. He was a great leader and educator. He was an inspiration to us all, and I want to see more people follow in his path with the same passion, commitment, and dedication. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Thank you for everything, Mr. C.
A visionary dreamer who made this beautiful educational institution possible. With us, Mr. Friedel Stewart.
Good evening. I'm a great follower of a philosopher called Tom Ford. And he says that the biggest attribute of a leadership is humility and nobility. And of course, Luis had tons of that, humility and nobility, and as attested today. I have to start with some of that. We actually were not ready to lose Luis. He has been a greatest advisor for me and my children for the last 20 years. And so I want to be sure, and I'm a fan of the Christiansen family. We're here together. So I want to be sure that we have a victory next day, first time. And so I gave instructions very fast. Look, it's about a culture of kindness and pursuing excellence. That's it. Because Luis was on excellence and kindness. And the next day, I look at it, and we have forgot a very important Christiansen, Jose Luis. Jose Luis, my excuses. It was not intended. You are as good Christiansen as any Christiansen. We love you. Big mistake. But anyway, I thinking about Luis, maybe a little story of TASIS. In the 1990s, there was this book, Head to Head, by Lester Thoreau, who was dean of the MIT School of Businesses. He was looking to the next century. He said that the leaders of the world would be those that had the best educations. And he compared the K-12 education between the US, the Asian tigers, and European schools. And the US was behind it. So I was hearing Mr. Thoreau, and I said, if the US is behind, how about Puerto Rico? And at that time, I said, I'm going to do a community around a school. We grew up around Miramar, where Perpetuo Socorro was a school. It was a very successful community, so I thought in Dorado we're going to do that. So I started looking around who was the best educator who could help me do that and asking. And in all sites, the name Louis Christiansen surfaced. He was the best educator in Puerto Rico. So I invited Louis for lunch to his brothers, who I was a great fan of his brothers. So they got me a meeting with Louis, which I didn't know that before. And he told me, Friedel, it can't be done. The problem is that the infrastructure costs so much and we cannot charge enough to pay for the infrastructure. So first lesson to me, you cannot have infrastructure costs. You have to build the school for free. Then in the process, we found Fernando and TASIS, of course. And Fernando, who was in England at that time, fit the purpose, he was European. Yeah, it's better than American schools. He was from Puerto Rico. Good, Puerto Ricans, Europeans, we can convince these people and build a school here. So I found a way, with the Nevares family ourselves, committed to building the school without any cost until it got to 12th grade. So, and even that, so we decided that, but how do you start a school? Like somebody said here, 34 schools, you have to start from zero. We decided on the first 3 grades. So we expected that we would have some deficits on the first years, Let me tell you, then we had to convince Louis, because by that time, Louis was, I think, selling cigarettes or Coca-Cola, something like that. So, the best educator should be selling cigarettes and Coca-Cola. So we think we can convince him. So Fernando Fernando told me, it's not easy. So we both hit him from both sides. Fernando on one side and me on the other. So he tells me, Friedel, but you know what? I don't like dealing with parents. I'm kind of a dictator. And I said, look how well Singapore is doing. So, no problem with me. I love that style. You just have to be benevolent. Well, he thought about kindness. I can be a dictator with kindness. Okay, good. We got it solved. And then, of course, don't worry, really, we have Maritere to deal with the parents. So we brought Maritere. For 15 years, Louis controlled the school and we built the school. And we would sit together, we had a lot of fun, we never had an argument, never in our life we had an argument. We respected each other, and let me tell you what, you can say he's an educator, but he's a super manager. He was a super manager. He was a great leader of educators. And he had this school under control, and of course he had Luis in there. Luis makes sure that every penny counts. So still, and at one point we both decided we had to get out of the day-to-day. And I said, no more of me, now it's Federico and Ceci. And of course he left Maritere and Fernando still there, and still evolving. But still, he was a great leader and advisor, and still he was helping now Federico and Ceci, Fernando, and everybody continue the building of our best project of our life, which is this school. So anyway, so now how do you make kids, number one, don't forget, how do you make kids understand these great values in life? So we all thought and we decided that, and of course Luigi was always with the arts, He was a great photographer, he was a great collector of actors, and TASIS has always had a big art program, and that was really Luigi who was behind it. So what better than to name this place the Louis Christiansen Performing Arts Center from Dorado. of those beautiful pictures of Luigi smiling are always around, and that every kid that comes to the school know who Luigi Christiansen was. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Celia will be singing to us while we enjoy our last video.
Cuando un amigo se va, queda un espacio vacío que no lo puede llenar. La llegada de otro amigo, cuando un amigo se va. Con las aguas de un río, cuando un amigo se va, amigo se va, queda ese espacio vacío que no lo puede llenar la llegada de otro amigo. Cuando un amigo se queda un tizón encendido que no se puede apagar ni con las aguas de un río. Cuando un amigo se va, una estrella se ha perdido, la que ilumina el lugar donde hay un niño dormido. Cuando un amigo se va, se detienen los caminos y empieza el alma a vibrar, porque se llena de frío. Cuando un amigo se va, queda un terreno baldío que quiere el tiempo llenar con las piedras al hastío. Cuando ese amigo se va, se queda ese árbol caído y ya no vuelve a brotar, porque el viento lo ha vencido. Cuando un amigo se va, queda un espacio vacío que no se puede llenar con la llegada de otro amigo.
Good evening. Thank you very much.